Hey there, and welcome to YAS, a stripper podcast. On this podcast, we'll discuss how classifying each other as people and workers is dangerous to society and marginalized groups of people. We'll also talk about the climate in and outside of the strip clubs and all of the amazing things that strippers do. And of course, we'll talk about all of the things in between. I'm your queen, A.M. Davies, and this is YAS, a stripper podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm A.M. Davies, and you're tuned in to YAS, a stripper podcast. A stripper podcast, the name was inspired by a hashtag that was created by a stripper named Elle Stranger. She created the hashtag Yes a Stripper in a clapback to civilian pole dancers who were using the hashtag Not a Stripper to distance themselves from strippers, the creators of the very activity that they now participate in. This show is about the classification of different types of women and how that's dangerous to our society, and talking about the divide between strippers and pole dancers and the current climate in and outside of the strip clubs regarding sex workers and women. We also have stripper guests on this show where we talk about all of the amazing things that they do in and outside of the strip club. This is YAS, a stripper podcast. So this week, I want to talk to you about transitioning out of the strip club into, the real world. This is a topic that comes up a lot, actually, not only with civilians to strippers, but amongst strippers themselves. Working in a strip club can be a fantastic life, but it can also be a very demanding life mentally and emotionally. And there's a lot of talk about strippers having a shelf life with what they do. While I agree with that to some degree, I also disagree with that. I think that there's this idea that you have to maintain youth or be youthful in order to be a stripper. That's not necessarily true. I think the main reason why strippers age out or transition out is because A, it's very physically demanding on our bodies, and B, we just want to see what else we're capable of. Just like anybody in any profession that does anything, after a while you just kind of get bored and you want to challenge yourself with something new. And there are some dancers that I think inherently believe, because of what the patriarch kind of pushes on us through society's rules, that you need to maintain your youth and beauty in order to be a dancer. I think that's really unfair to place those standards on women, especially dancers, when, it's quite possible to be beautiful inside and out no matter what your age. And unfortunately, there are discrimination tactics within hiring in strip clubs, and a lot of times ageism definitely is a factor. But MILFs are a thing, and they wouldn't have so many MILF options on porn websites if people didn't actually like attractive older women. So we want to talk a little bit today, and I'll get into this more with the amazing guests that we have, about what it's like transitioning from being a stripper into the real world, into living more of a civilian type of life. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our beautiful, amazing guest, who's also a dear friend of mine, Megan Rippey.
Thank you.
Hi.
So happy to be here.
Yes. Yes, queen.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. What is going on in your world right now, Megan? Because since we're talking about transitioning, you're doing a million freaking things outside of the strip club. What do you have going on right now?
Yeah, I'm trying. So with the new year, I I was going back through my archives and sort of looking at not only the year in review, but the last decade in review. Oh, right. And that was really fun for me to see kind of where I was 10 years ago. Sure. Because it feels so long ago, but then it's not, Yeah. But that's when I realized that I started dancing at the club that I'm still dancing at now 10 years ago.
Right.
So that was I had this moment oh my God, that is a number,
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
And it's not actually my 10-year anniversary. That'll be in October. So it's but this is my 10th year. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah.
And
you're entering your 10th year.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So that made me think about my life and my sort of career and my various careers, I guess, and like what's next. And so now I'm at this time, it was just the new year, so I'm kind of getting used to this new feeling of reevaluating and seeing what the next 10 years are, what they look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you got into stripping, did you imagine you would be doing it for this long?
I think I thought that I would be doing it up until this long. Like, okay. I thought maybe I'll do it for 10 years, like at the most. But I'm like super happy. Like, I'm not like dying to get out. Like I recognize like that I have other talents and I have other things that I want to do, and I have like other things in my life that I want to do and give my attention to. Right. But I'm not in like dire need of like getting out of the industry, like not like how I thought. Like I thought like 10 years would go by and I'd be like, oh man,
why am I still here?
Yeah.
So how long? So you've been, you've been working at Jumbo's Clown Room for almost about 10 years now, which is how we know each other. But you were working somewhere else before that. So how long total have you been a stripper?
So in February, it'll be 11 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you were somewhere else for just a short time. Mm-hmm. So when you started stripping, you were like 10 years at the most. Why did you give yourself that limitation? Can you remember?
I think it was because I just visualized, like I had a picture in my head of like who I would be at that time. Like, when you're like 20 years old and you like picture yourself at 30 and it's like a woman that doesn't even look like you. At least that's what I thought. Like I just visualized this like woman that I would never recognize.
I found it. I really had to search. Yeah. I found that. I remember what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And even now, like when I think of myself at 50, I'm like, whoever that is, you know what I mean? Like,
oh no, I know.
Like whatever age, it's like, it's almost this like other, like someone else is playing me. Like it's some other actress.
Maybe they are
playing me. Yeah. Right. Yeah. But it's like, I just didn't think that I would actually now be, super like confident and in the best shape of my life. And, like I didn't picture that at all. I pictured like, oh, when I'm like 30, I'll be like a mom already, like I just had these like ideas. I know.
Do you still want to be a mom?
I do. So that's part of like, what does the next transition look like? Because that's like an unavoidable, there will be, at the very least, there will be a break from dancing. You know what I mean? So it's like that's like the unavoidable transition that is coming at some point, but I don't.
Well, you have to stop dancing for at least 2 months when you get pregnant.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
I mean,
it's like probably
longer.
But shit, I've seen people strip
I know
up until like 5-6 months of pregnancy.
I know. I've seen
depending
it too.
on where you work.
I've seen it too.
I mean, whatever. We're women and we have jobs, so whatever. But wow. So do you feel like your idea of if you should be stripping at this particular time in life versus later in life, do you think that's kind of changed over time? Like, do you think that you have a different idea of what a stripper looks like or should be like from when you started till now?
Yeah, I think I do. I think that it's like all the women in my life now who are beautiful inside and out and like confident and strong, both inside and out, like all of those women are older than like what I originally thought like a stripper was.
Right.
Like they're in their 30s and 40s. Mm-hmm. Like those are the strong, beautiful, like stunning, drop dead, gorgeous women. Like, and then you have these like baby strippers and like they're cute, but like that's not who I picture anymore. I picture these like badass, strong women who have been doing this for a long time and just are like graceful and smooth and like clever and just and funny and like, you know, they rock my world. But they're like, we're all older now, but like they're still like the hot women that I know in stripping. So yeah, I definitely feel like my idea of that has definitely changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's good. I mean, I think same for me. You know, when I was younger, my God, I was so filled with ego and so ingrained in the patriarchy, even though I thought I was free, you know, like that I had a more, like I just thought I was smarter than everyone else. And that goes hand in hand with my ego. And when I look back on the things that I used to say, like, first of all, like I didn't want to be called a stripper back in the early 2000s. I wanted to be called an exotic dancer.
That's what I did too.
That was really important to me.
Yeah.
And now what people say to me like, oh, is it okay to call you a stripper? Is that the right term? I'm like, yes, bitch, that's what I am.
Yeah.
Yes, call me a stripper.
I'm even still getting used to it. 11 years in.
Being called a stripper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I've always, like from the beginning, like I've always, and like as if there's like any definition that's like as if there's a difference. But I always called myself an exotic dancer,
right?
And never a stripper. And even now, it's like I coach myself on it. I'm like, okay, like you know, you're going on this podcast. It's called YAS, a stripper.
Are you still struggling with being called a stripper?
It's like a psychological hiccup. It's like I'm not opposed to it, and I don't like in theory, it's great. Like I think it's a great word and it's a sexy word and I love the word, but I still trip over it. I still just have this little hiccup where I'm like, stripper, you know, like, isn't that funny?
Yes. Do you have any idea why? Have you unpackaged that at all?
I mean, I think it's because of the place where I started 11 years ago was like defined itself as not being a strip club, even though it was like a topless place that had pasties,
okay,
which is like more naked than I am at Jumbo's. But like it was this beautiful fantasy land, that shaped so much of who I am as a dancer, but then also as a person, and it just defined itself as not being a strip club.
Were you selling lap dances?
No.
Okay, so you were just performing.
Yeah, it was just performing.
But
like on stage.
We're on the pole, you're wearing the shoes, you're twerking.
Well, we weren't allowed to twerk.
What?
I know. I discovered my love of twerking at Jumbo's.
Yeah, you're one of the best twerkers.
Coming from you.
No, your ass is like amazing things. You're really good at it.
Thank
so it's
you.
Funny, like, oh, how repressed, you poor thing.
I was. In a way, no. I definitely was.
Okay, so, but were you getting down to thongs? And you were dancing seductively?
We were in... what was the underwear situation? Yeah, I think we would go down to thongs. It was like thongs and pasties, but we weren't allowed to get on the floor. Like we couldn't crawl.
No floor work.
No floor work. You had to, because like that wasn't
God, my brain
sophisticated.
hurts. Oh my God.